right, hello everyone, and welcome back to my power ranking series. We're now on number 29, which is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. Lots of stuff to talk about, so let's get right into it. Okay, offensive line and the quarterback. Oh, okay, a little bit more to talk about here since they did draft a backup quarterback, and we're going to have to talk about that. But first, starting the offensive line. It's very variable. You have a very solid starting left tackle in Matthews. He's been one for years at this point. He was a high draft pick when you took him. So that's always very solid. I don't expect his play to dip at all. That's nice. Now on the other side, you've got Caleb McGarry, who, I mean, how do I get to this? Still relatively young. He's on his rookie deal still, but he is yet to prove that he can be consistent in his play. He usually averages out to this kind of replaceable level starting talent, maybe a little bit above that, just above kind of a depth player position, but you need him to kind of take that next step and start really showing that he can partake in this wide zone scheme, really kick out, right, and show burst to get outside and block and protect the future of the quarterback position, which is going to be between these two guys here, which we're going to talk about in a moment. So we're going to be looking at that all season long. It's kind of make or break for him. They did bring in Ifedi and Wilkinson. I like that move here. Both are coming from the Bears. To kind of help out this wide zone offense and that kind of act as a swing tackle when needed. They're decent depth, kind of in a pinch, and if need be, both can kind of kick inside to guard. So I think that was very smart depth signings here by the Falcons. I like that move a lot. Even though I'm not big on the players, I think what they did there was very smart. You still have Jalen Mayfield as the starting left guard. It's rough. He picked it up a little bit at the end of the season, but it's a rough starter to have. He looked like a fish out of water at the start of last season. He's going to need to take a really big jump over the summer for him to be kind of considered a ready starter even. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that, but my hope's not overly high. You got Hennessy here now as the starter. He's taken over Mac's old job. He's gotten into his groove. He's done pretty well. There's some ticky-tack things that I would say need to be ironed out. I won't give it to that overly, as this series is not really designed for that. Uh, but I think he's on his way in track of developmental stuff. So you hope he gets there this season. Falcons really need all the help they can get in this spot. So I think you're not overly angry he's there. Drew Dahlman was a decent pickup here as well that I think fits this scheme well. He's a bit of a lighter guy. So he at least can give you some depth level talent in case something happens to Hennessy. Your biggest piece here, Lindstrom, who has basically been a consistently good starter from almost the moment the Falcons drafted him. He's starting near the end of his contract. He's going to need to be paid the big bucks by the Falcons, and I hope they have planned that out, through their salary cap and how to make sure they keep him because he's worth it. He's one of the better and younger guards in the league currently, and he's like I said, he's been that way for a good while, especially in the run game. So Falcons, make it happen. Make sure you keep your young talent. This is the kind of guy you build your team around. So for quarterback, it's honestly a leap year. The goal, I would likely say, is to have Mario to start and then give Ritter a little more time to prepare before he eventually takes over. The question is, if the Falcons bottom out and can land in like an honest first round quarterback, like a first round talented quarterback next year, like if they're within striking distance, what do you do? Like, is this something to consider? Like, do you say, hey, we'll toss the idea that we spent a third on Ritter aside, and then you go take the first round quarterback, and then what you let Ritter run, or I mean maybe Ritter plays well, or maybe Mariota plays well. It's a really up in the air kind of year for the Atlanta Falcons, which it's a bit uneasy. There's a lot of stuff to kind of look at about what happens midseason, depending on how the Falcons are doing. Whether Mariota's already been replaced or Mariota is playing well. Has Ritter came in? Has he played well at all? Is he showing good things? Is he not showing good things? You know, Mariota's gonna be making plays with his legs. He'll be able to extend stuff when the pocket breaks down. He showed some really good play in a pro style offense that the Raiders were using. So there is something to say that there. Ritter as well. I liked him as a prospect. I think he's one of the more pro-ready prospects as well, coming out of this draft class. Occasionally there's some accuracy issues, but I think he's got a good feel of the pocket. I like his processor. I I actually wouldn't be too overly mad if they eventually just said Ritter takes the start by like week 3. I think that's totally fine. I like his tape a good bit. Uh, it is concerning though because you do want him to develop. In fact, all these quarterbacks from this draft honestly need time to develop. So we'll see what the Falcons believe they have going on here. Okay, backfield and receivers, very different type of skill group here on offense that we've seen previously. There is tons of these like slow, big-bodied possession receivers now that Ridley's gone, and it's kind of untypical for this Shanahan type scheme that they run, or even most West Coast type offenses. It's really weird to load up on that body type, like to even take Drake London as the first wide receiver off the board in this last draft. It's just kind of puzzling to me. Uh, I mean, for the life of me, I cannot figure out why that was not Garrett Wilson as the selection. At the very least, trying to not get a guy who fits only a certain archetype. I feel like they have a bunch of them. So I don't know. It was kind of puzzling. Drake London is a solid receiver pick. He moves decently well for a bigger guy. Kind of good contested catch. But I mean, history has shown to be pretty harsh on guys like him. So we'll see how he adjusts, and he's going to be competing for time with other guys now. We'll talk about that in a second here. Because kind of by loading at that position, you you're making these guys really compete with Kyle Pitts, who was your top pick last time, right? Kyle Pitts, he's listed as a tight end. He's just basically a big receiver that they line out wide or in the slot. They can kind of, he's never really attached to the line. So it continues to puzzle me why you'd go get more styles of receiver in like Tate and London and all of them to really take snaps away from him, and who's then in turn going to take snaps away from them. I don't really understand what the idea is here, right? Because you're not really going to have Pitts actually play as a true tight end. He's not really a great blocker at all. I would never ask him to do it. I don't really think it's something that's he's really ever going to develop and really ever be a part of his wheelhouse. So it's just some really confusing moves here by the front office that seem counterproductive to what you'd think they'd want to do. But I digress. At the very least, the Falcons brought back a fan favorite player in Patterson. He played very well in this team last year. He's a Swiss Army knife for this offense. Algier and Williams are really going to be the guys who take the more traditional run type sets here, going between the tackles and stuff like that, which should help give him a break. And Patterson's right between the tackles is also not his best, right? He does much more with these wide zone type, right? What Arthur Smith's actually known for, these really wide zone type runs, or then getting Patterson out, in kind of a play action type look or a receiving back type look. That's kind of where Patterson thrives. So at least they got him back. He thrived in this system last year. I imagine he'll thrive again this year. He'll at least give good play. Okay. So Falcons spent most of their time and money fixing this front seven this offseason. They just re-signed Grady Jarrett to the long haul. He deserves it. He's kind of that good run defender. He holds his ground. He's got complete tool set to rush the passer from the interior. It's really hard to find a player that's like that, or even find a better replacement. He's a really good vet to build around. Good locker room guy as well, from what I've been told. I don't know. I think the Falcons should be happy they get to keep him for his whole career. I think there was a chance they could have ended up offloading him for young players or picks. Uh, but I'm completely content with them holding him out here. I think it's good to kind of keep him for his entire career. Keeps the fans happy, keeps you with a good level of play. You're still not taking yourself out of your rebuild. I'm glad they kept him. You got Marlon Davidson here. It's his opportunity now. He's been buried here and rotated around as his number one pick. He needs to show that he is honestly worthy of that first round selection now. He had nice tools as a prospect. So it's really time to see if he's developed them here or not. It's a make or break for him. I hope again. I hope for Falcons' sake that it is make because the depth behind him is a little rough. You got Graham Kaminsky, who are kind of backups really or role players here. They're not really meant to do much more than that. So you need Davidson to hit. They brought in Lorenzo Carter from the Giants, who is a very unique type of player. He plays a hybrid edge role, which if you're not familiar for that, the hybrid edge role is basically these guys constantly are lining up at edge in these either 3-3-5 looks or loaded 3-4 looks. And what these guys are supposed to do is, occasionally rush the passer with a quick burst, a quick speed, or they'll do like these looping blitzes with them, as kind of typical edge would in this type of scheme. But the hybrid part comes in is when they'll drop them into coverage rapidly, and they'll do it more often than not for these 3-4, 3-3-5 schemes. So he has a little more coverage ability than most would. You're going to be looking to see. What's a good example? Jamie Collins did that a lot for the Patriots. Seattle just drafted Boya Mafe, who's probably going to be doing a very similar role of that recently for the Seahawks. So be looking for him to do that. The Ravens do like a lot of their pocket pushers, but they have grabbed a couple guys who can do that recently. So that's kind of their whole role. Is the idea is they're really a question mark for a defense, and this is kind of the role that Chase on for the Jags should be playing. When I was talking about that a couple videos ago, this is what Chase on thrives in, and what it's been kind of frustrating to see that he hasn't gotten the chance to do yet. So that's what I mean when I have him labeled as hybrid. That is what Lorenzo Carter is going to be doing here, and I expect that he'll play that role at least decently. He did for the Giants. I imagine it's going to be fine here. He's kind of on a 1 year, so I don't expect his play to really elevate or decrease the defense's production, but I think he'll do his job here. That's all you can really ask of him. All right, let's take a look at linebackers. Deion Jones, still a nice linebacker here, kind of ushered in the new age of these 235-pound linebackers. Deion Jones is a little lighter than that, but he doesn't have an insane amount of run defense ability, but he'll have moments where he holds his own. He does much better covering these wide areas, going sideline to sideline. He covers ground quickly and in coverage as well. He's kind of the main cover backer here, which you like to see. They brought in Evans from the Titans. He was not extended. So Evans is going to be the guy here to take on the blockers on these downhill runs, which should free up Deion Jones to kind of blitz gaps and sort through traffic to go get after the running back. So it was a nice logical pickup to bring in Evans. I don't expect him to be an excellent player, but he'll be a good role player here. He has a role. They still have Walker here. He's a good third linebacker, mostly used in kind of 4-3 schemes. I don't know how it'll go going to a more 3-4 scheme here, but I think he can kind of take some downs off, at least play special teams well. But the linebacker I want you to keep your eye on is Troy Anderson from Montana State. Guy's incredibly smart. He's a multi-position athlete coming from Montana State. Great linebacker size as well as an insane athlete. Like think Deion Jones athlete, but at Rashaan Evans size. That's kind of what you're getting in Troy Anderson. So he's gonna be looking to take Evans' role, I imagine, to pair with Jones. I don't know if he'll be ready year one. It really depends. I really like his smarts. I wouldn't be surprised if he can work into it. But keep an eye on him, especially in preseason. I like that player a lot. He actually overpassed a lot of other linebackers that I saw taken earlier. So keep an eye on him. Edge group. Intriguing. They drafted Malone to be a nice depth talent and rotational guy. I thought that was okay. Wasn't my favorite pick, but I think it was good for what they were looking for. The big name here is Arnold Ebiketie, though. That's the big edge prospect of this entire draft for the Falcons. I had him pretty high up. He was my edge, like 5 or 6 or something like that, which it sounds pretty low, but for this draft in particular, there was tons of edge talent down the board. So I think Ebiketie is ready to cause hell for this Falcons team. I think he was a very pro-ready version of these edge players. I can't rave about the scheme fit as well because I think it's very good. I think the Falcons nailed it on the head getting him there. Okay, defensive backs. We're kind of officially back to looking at poor secondaries coming off the Bears video now. This starting safety group, let's look at this. It leaves a lot to be desired. Like why Richie Grant, who was a second round pick last year, is not getting the start at free safety and is also listed at slot cornerback too, which, by the way, he will get time at then when they come out in dime looks. I don't get it. It's I don't think it's going to help them at all. I'd rather Grant get the start and Harris take the safety three role, and I'd honestly start both Hawkins and Grant and just let the young guys eat. Like, see what you have in them. At some point, you have to see what you have in the young guys, and from the little bit we have seen, they seem talented. So I don't know why we, or at least at this current moment in time, are continuing to bury them. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. So let's go to the slot corner role. Oliver, he wasn't overly productive at outside corner, which he was drafted to be. But they tried him in the slot as kind of a taller slot guy, and he did show some nice ability there. So they're bringing him back to see if he can replicate it. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I do think that was a decent idea. It didn't cost them much to do so. So I'm all right with that. They brought in Casey Hayward. He had a good year for the Raiders, but that was in a very heavy zone scheme. There is a lot more man coverage here. So it's another puzzling move that I'm hoping works out for them, but I haven't seen Hayward in a defense like this in a little bit now. So hopefully he still has it. Same thing with Hall, who I also made a note of here. Darren Hall is a player I liked a lot last year, and someone I think that could be taking more snaps. However, again, I preferred him in a zone scheme. That's where he showed most of his talent. So maybe Atlanta's looking to use more zone looks as well. With what I've said about Hayward, it's just weird. Just because Terrell shows a lot is really great in man. He's good in zone as well, but it's just his greatness comes in these utterly matching of guys. So it's a weird order of operations is what the Falcons are doing here. But let's talk about Terrell. Great corner. He was absolutely locked down last year. I don't know how, in what world he was not a Pro Bowler. It's why I don't like the Pro Bowl very much. I don't think it says a whole lot, especially since Evan Ingram was a Pro Bowler at some point. I don't know how. I mean, this guy is young and just ready to play. He is a lockdown guy in man coverage. He had little to no safety help almost ever. So to have as good a grades and as good a tape as he had doing exactly what he was doing for his really good receiving course, I mean, the man faces Tampa Bay twice a year. Like you have to give him credit. Like you should be pleased that you have him, Falcons, because you'll have him release the long haul, and you got a little bit before you got to pay him the big bucks. So be thankful of that at least. Okay, special teams and coaching. Our first star rating for a special teams player, Younghoe Koo. Great kicker. Like honestly, he's a great kicker. He's young. You can have him for the long haul. You're not paying him overly much. Um, he does have this really insane trait of these onside kicks. Like if you actually look at the statistics for kicking, his odds on making these onside kicks is just super above average. So you've got something special in there. Keep him close, Falcons. I know teams are be wanting to poach that from you. Punter, not really great. It's up in the air. It's not exceptional. Uh, I mean, maybe you can look to find something else, but I think you're going to be kind of jumping around punters or stuck with low level punter play. I don't expect Maggio to do much, but maybe he can prove me wrong. I'd be happy for him if he did. Let's look at the coordinators now. Nothing really big to knock or really say that will elevate this team, rating wise. Smith kind of assembled this crew already. They had up and down going, kind of coaching and play last year. So it's really kind of just waiting to see how the rebuild kicks off and see if they develop at all. The Panthers let go of Brady to bring in uh, McAdoo, and they're kind of a couple years ahead of the Falcons in this division of their rebuild. They've already tested out some coordinators, so we'll see if the Falcons continue on with this crew, if this crew can prove that they belong as well. Their rebuild is really almost ready to kick off. They just shed Ryan to the Colts, but they got a massive cap hit that they were incurred with, so that's again much like the Texans. That's going to delay them a little bit. You have to, manage your expectations as the front office and as a fan, I would say you should manage your expectations. They have to get rid of that money off their cap first before they can actually do something with it. So now talking about Arthur Smith himself, Smith did a great job as the offensive coordinator for the Titans. I really, it showed up in moments last year. I think the Falcons are really hoping that it's going to show up more. He's not the actual offensive coordinator. He does have someone he's delegated that to, but it is still his scheme and his ideals that he is implementing here. So we're going to hope to see Arthur Smith show up big. All right. So Falcons, up and down. They have some very prominent holes. Also some very confusing moves that just don't seem to support what they had already or have brought in. It's still very much a transition of schemes and talent. And they're still cap strapped, much like the Texans. So that really has pushed them all the way down here. But they've got a couple nice things to build off of. Like Young Wei Koo, Ritter could potentially work out. You've got AJ Terrell still. You need to start getting things going, start pushing some of these younger guys forward, and really establish what kind of culture you have here as the Falcons. It's really the only things they're lacking. So one more team left for this multi-rebuild category here, multi-year rebuild. So I can't wait to get it out to you and to talk about it, and I hope to see you then. Later.